Boom, go, go. Boom, go.
Good fam, what's good? We're back. Got Nqobile here. Match day review show. 1-1 against Burnley. I think this is the story of our season here. You know, we score early and we cause our own demise. But Nqobile, you're here to break it down for us. What did you make of the game, the results? Yeah, how are you feeling?
Yeah, look, I mean, it was a very disappointing result. It felt like a loss, and not even a draw, just purely due to the nature of how we consider the goal and how everything else unfolded during the course of the match. It was a tough game. We always expect Burnley to be a tough game, but we always seem to get good results against Burnley up until the recent past two games, which has probably been the only blemish in our record. We usually have a great record against Burnley. I think they haven't beaten us in like 50 years, something like that, at home, like in the league, at Turf Moor. And obviously, we know that prior to them beating us, the Emirates hadn't beaten us also in donkeys of years before they beat us now due to Xhaka's other era as well. So it just seems like it's one of those fixtures where Xhaka doesn't seem to do well, and he got a red card the last time. This time he gave away a very, very sloppy goal, avoidable goal. And then, yeah, I think also just the sloppy finishing in front of goal let us down. Some questionable refereeing decisions. Yeah, so all in all, it's just a whole concoction of those things just led to a very, very disappointing day, I think, for most Arsenal fans.
Yeah, it pretty much sums up our season, man. You know, early goals, we get a mistake, bad decisions, not being clinical enough. But let's break it down. It started off quite well, to be fair. You know, we had a few good chances, and then Aubameyang's goal, and then Xhaka's mistake. Maybe just walk us through how you felt about Aubameyang's goal, maybe the play before, because it was good play out the back. Said William.
So Aubameyang's goal for me was actually how we would want to play out from the back. It was very silky. Ball started off, I think, amongst the keeper and the two centre backs, gets played into Thomas Partey, who pops it into Xhaka, who actually didn't want the ball. If you actually look at the replay, he's pointing as if he wants Thomas Partey to turn back and play it back to the keeper or someone else, because he had three guys around him. But then he makes a move to the right, short to the right, and then Partey just pops it to him, and then he pops it, plays a little 1-2 with Partey, and then Partey sets Willian away, and then obviously Willian with the drives with the ball, carries the ball quite well, lays it off to Uba. Uba's still got a lot to do, and then you see him with that finish now where he goes towards the near post versus the far post, which seems to be catching out some of the keepers. It caught out Meslier, I think, in the Leeds match. That's the recent one that comes to mind. And then obviously now he caught out the Burnley, or Nick Pope, sorry, his name.
Yeah, no worries.
Never before, but it caught out Nick Pope as well this time. And I think in the end, I think Pope as a goalkeeper would be disappointed with that, because he got quite a good hand to it, and it seemed to just creep underneath his wrist, and then snuck into goal. So he would be disappointed with that. But yeah, I think on our end it was a good build up. We were a bit fortunate, as I say, with the finish, and that the keeper, I think, probably should have done better. But yeah, in the end, credit to us and Aubameyang for at least trying something different that might have caught out the keeper. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also maybe the power. He had a lot of power behind that low shot.
Yeah, he had a lot of power, but I think I know what you mean. It also maybe just it kind of dipped under also.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like he should have, like he was there. The keeper was there, like, but he wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Like, because he was as a keeper, you'd be a bit.
But it's nice to see Aubameyang,
and you can see
trying new stuff, getting on the score sheet. You know, I think it's been a while, but then, you know, I think this has been the story from the beginning of the season. Aubameyang used to score early, or last season, we score early, and then we get set back. So walk us through the goal, man, that we conceded. Was Burnley putting pressure on us? Was it our own mistake? Like, give us your interpretation.
No, man, it wasn't. So the thing is that Burnley they were trying to press us, but they're not really a team that knows how to press. Let's be fair. Like,
yeah, true.
they were leaving a lot of gaps in their presses, leaving a lot of players open. So if you look at a lot of the times when they tried pressing, even in our first goal and even in this era, they would usually press the left-hand side and leave the guys on the right quite open. So every time when they pressed us, you see David Luiz, Chambers would always be open whenever they press. So they'd try and almost press the left side of centre back, the Xhaka. They'd usually try to target those two, and maybe sometimes Tierney. If obviously you're sure, but Tierney most of the time was bombing forward, and then Xhaka would come into that gap. But they were only really pressing with three players, which is Vidra, Chris Wood, and
the front line.
the right. I think it's this guy's name now. It's escaped me, but the right wing is the right winger would also press with them, and then. But then, as I was saying, they weren't doing it. If it was only those three, and then the other guys seemed to always get caught in between, whether they should actually press or not. And we were playing out of those presses quite easily the other game. And even if you look at that goal, because I know some people will say that maybe looking at the time and everything, maybe Leno should have maybe just cleared it out. But if you look at Xhaka, he actually comes short, calls for the ball. And the ball, yes, okay, it's played to his weaker right foot, right? But you would expect him, because he's called the ball, he kind of should already know what he wants to do.
What he wants to do.
He takes a very sloppy first touch, and then with the second touch gets caught in between two minds of whether should he try play it back across the goal away from the striker, or try play it towards his inside of the striker. So between the box and the penalty spots and the top of the box.
Yeah.
And he kind of hesitates and then gets caught doing neither and literally just cannons it off of the striker. And then he literally had three players to his right that if he had popped the ball out quickly, they were open. So if you look at Chambers was wide open, Partey was wide open to his right.
Also, to be fair, Leno was also
Leno was there for the if you feel you're not comfortable with popping the pass, you can lay the ball straight back to Leno and tell him to clear it and shield your man, because it's not like Leno was also being pressed, because the guy who was being pressed was Xhaka, and even he wasn't really being pressed that hard.
Yeah, he just go close the gaps more than anything else, to be fair.
They close the gaps rather than actually marking the men. They kind of close the spaces. So if he was unsure with himself, could have played it out or could have played it back to the keeper and it be pumped. But also the quality of what you'd expect him with that much space to be able to find. He had three men to find. Even if he had misplaced it, it would have still, even if he was like trying to find Chambers or maybe trying to find Partey with the one around the corner, he would have still, if he had mishit that one, it would probably still have gone to Chambers. You know what I'm saying? So I think he just, he didn't kind of trust himself. And the thing what makes it worse is that you had seen him execute a pass first time to Partey leading up to okay, sharp, the distances weren't as great. It was a much shorter pass that he played to Partey. But all in all, I think Xhaka has himself to blame for that. And he's come out and he's apologized. And it was a massive error from him. You know, and the thing is that if you blame the keeper, then you can say that you can always almost for those situations and say to the keeper, actually, you should always be pumping that ball up. But that's not the way we play. We've been told.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And there, the opportunity was there. It's not like he played a hospital pass to Xhaka where the man was dead on him. You know what I'm saying? Where he was necking in, where
he ran
where the player, even when he had passed the ball, it's not like the player even got a challenge in. You know, the guy that was marking him, which I think was Vidra at the time. Vidra, he was literally still like half a meter away from him when he even played that ball. So it's one of those where he honestly should have done better.
That's the thing. I think Leno should have cleared, but if the problem is we haven't played like that in a while. You know what I mean? Because if Xhaka got that pass out, we were through. You know what I mean? We were counted.
Yeah.
So it's just that I feel like sometimes you just have to make that decision. You know, like just to kick it out, but. You know, I think at that time we so trained in that tactic. We just used to finding the gap.
I can't blame Leno for not just kicking the ball out because there were a lot of men open. There were three guys open for that pass. He couldn't make the pass himself, so he played the pass for Xhaka to make. If Xhaka felt he couldn't make that pass, he
Mm.
plays it back. If it would be another error, another thing if Leno had tried passing the ball and then he misplaced his pass and it went straight to the striker, that I would understand. I would blame Leno for that.
Yeah.
Or if he had played the ball and then the striker nicked in front of Xhaka.
Yeah, yeah. I get what if Xhaka like
Then
it was
then
like
I'd be like,
difficult
you know
for him
what?
to take
But
under control.
But Xhaka literally called for the ball, motioned towards him, and in all honesty, had a simple pass to make. You know what I'm saying? If it was maybe like the 90th minute of a football match, we're holding on, and he does that, then I'll be like, okay, sharp. Our keeper should actually be pragmatic and hoof it into the stands. But in that instance, where it's the 38th or whatever minute of the match, you're comfortable, you're playing out well from the back, you've got a chance to actually catch these guys on the break because they, for me, quite honestly, they had also pressed poorly in that instance where they half had gone, half hadn't. So there was an opportunity to break on them again and get overloads and numbers in behind them again, like we did for the first goal. And it was for me a brain fade from Xhaka that ultimately led to them equalizing. I don't really think that the keeper's culpable for
And
that.
then, well, like going back to it, so that mistake there kind of obviously led to their goal, and then led to us now kind of now on the back foot again, trying to get back in, not get back into the match, but trying to get a win. So we go into halftime 1-1, come out second half. What was your take? You know, look, Xhaka, to be fair, it was unfortunate what happened. We were a goal down, but quite a lot of drama happened in the first, second half, I would say.
Yeah.
A lot of clinical chances that should have been taken, few referee calls. So I'd rather let you touch on a few of those. Yeah, what did you make of the second half? And then we will break it down a bit.
So, I mean, the second half was a lot harder. I think obviously our confidence took a bit of knock. And obviously Burnley's tails were up after we conceded the goal. So it was a lot harder. We kind of played into their game. Our passing wasn't as crisp as the first half. And we were drawn into playing the ball a lot longer. It became a bit of a scrap, right? And then I think towards obviously the end of the match, that's when the game really, really started opening up and we started fashioning a few chances. I think Burnley, we were quite comfortable if you actually look at it in terms of from a defensive aspect. The only way they were threatening us was pumping the ball out and then when trying to win the second ball. So if we had the ball or if their striker is able to win that first ball, they were then knowing that Xhaka is not really that mobile. They'll try and then get their midfield runners or Vidra to win the second ball, and then they would play from that situation. But yeah, I think all in all, I mean, they only really created one chance. I think where Leno made a great save, it would have been 2-1 if they put then if he hadn't pulled that, and then obviously would have been a much worse situation that we were in. Eric Peters also hit that volley, which Leno tipped over. But besides that, those guys didn't create anything. Then on our end, yeah, I mean, we were really sloppy with our finishing. Hit the bar, hit the post, a few blocks off the line as well. And yeah, I mean, Pepe also missed a sitter where the one was played across him and he miskicked it. So yeah, and then obviously, as you're saying, the referee, I think made a great call, obviously for the red card. The red card one, because it did come off the player shot. It was a clear error on the element. But then the other, the Pepe one for me was a stonewall penalty. I think no one can explain why that wasn't given. If you look strictly at the letter of the law, I agree. Probably you might argue that it's a bit harsh. But I mean, looking at previously what's been given, and if you even look at, because it's not close proximity really, because I think that's the argument they try to use, some of the guys, but it's not that, because the ball isn't really fired in at him. It's not like Pepe is rocketed in across, the guy's a meter away from him. He's literally just trying to flip the ball over him and the guy sticks his hand out and handles it. You can probably argue, and it's not really it's not a natural position. As they usually say, because sometimes they say, was his hand in an unnatural position, which for me, it wasn't an unnatural position. Close proximity doesn't really come into play. So for me, it's a stonewall penalty. And you even had a lot of the referees who act as pundits really saying that they couldn't really explain why it wasn't given. And by the strict letter of the law, yes, it's probably harsh, because as a football player, you kind of understand why his arms were out there. It's almost like he's trying to, jostle with the player. And when you're jostling with the guy, your arms do sometimes stick out, So almost as he looks to flick it, your first reaction is to get your arms out to try and block the player from getting past you, because the ball is already past you, and he's kind of handled it because of, inadvertently he's handled it. But it's one of those where those get given. It's harsh, but you see them given every day of the week. And for me, it's one of those where maybe thinking about Wenger and all the rules that he's trying to implement, it's maybe one of those where we need to, as a footballing world, maybe look at certain rule changes for some of those types of decisions. Maybe introducing something else like an indirect free kick or something like that. Because for me, that handling the ball there does not, especially the player is not really trying to handle the ball, but he happens to handle the ball. Your Pepe is not really in a goal scoring opportunity. He's not necessarily going to, score from actually collecting the ball on the other side of that. Maybe they should start looking at, introducing other rules for instances where players fouled in the box, but it's not necessarily a clear goal scoring opportunity. Like where a player maybe is running outside of the box, or he's collecting the box back to goal and he gets clipped, while trying to control the ball. Where for me, like stuff like that, maybe a penalty is a bit harsh for those, because a penalty is pretty much a certain goal. Whereas the player who actually got fouled, like Lacazette comes to mind. I think one of the games where we played, I'm not sure if it was Sheffield. Yeah, it was Sheffield. The FA Cup final, where Lacazette is literally trying to control the ball, edge of the box. He's even going out of the box, and the player just happens to clip him, and it's a penalty. For me, that the punishment doesn't really fit the crime. You know what I'm saying? For this type of decision.
That is a nice way of thinking of it.
For me, this feels like one of those where the penalty doesn't really fit the crime, but it's how the rules are written at the moment.
Based on the rules, it's a penalty. I get what you're trying to say, because it's when you're moving around, you're trying to mark, especially Pepe. Your hands, your legs don't even know what they're doing. You know what I mean? So your hands are everywhere, and when you put it like that, it makes sense. But the thing is, the consistency of these calls are just being it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, these refs. I've said
were we robbed? That was my next. Sorry.
I wouldn't say we were robbed per se, because for me to say we were robbed, you will say that the referees intentionally looked to disadvantage us. I just think they're just incompetent.
Yeah.
I can't say that I think
you've said this before, though, as well. I think you've said this.
Because, as I said, every single match day weekend,
there's a talking point with these refs.
There's a talking point about the refs. Like, every single match day. So I can't turn around and say, no, they've got it against, they've got something in, they got it in for us. Or you see Man United get dodgy decisions against
Liverpool
and for them. Liverpool,
and similar handballs, to be fair. All three were similar handballs, to be fair. They're quite similar. Maybe I felt it was more clear cut because of where his hand was, out of his body, and you could see it. But I was
for me, the Callum Hudson-Odoi one the other day was a stone.
The one where
and the ref for that one, the ref even looked at it and said no. So you see, this one. What also hurts me more about the Arsenal one is that at the end of the day, it wasn't the ref's decision. If the ref had gone there, looked at it, and said, you know what, accidental. Because then I'm like, okay, sharp. The ref, taking into context what he's seen.
Because what he's seen on the pitch and the clash.
What he's seen on the pitch and everything. And he's made the call. Then we can have a different discussion.
Yeah.
But now it's almost as if the VAR, the video assistant referee, has for me not flagged a clear an obvious error to the ref, or potential clear and obvious, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a clear and obvious. It's a potential clear and obvious error, and for me, he hasn't flagged it. If he's flagged it to him, the ref has gone up.
They did they made a much more thorough. And I'm saying what you're saying makes sense, because consider what they did with the red card, where that was the correct decision, where they overturned it because it hit his shoulder. They thoroughly looked at that. I think they did call him over to look at it. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he looked at it and he was like, "Nah, it's fine. I see it." So I don't know what's happening.
No, I
Whenever
didn't
we
even think
get
it. I don't even think he was
penalties,
called over for that. He wasn't called
it
over.
wasn't called over. My bad.
So that's the thing. So I don't know whether Kevin Friend, maybe the issue is with Kevin Friend in this instance, that he hasn't called the guy over himself. Yeah, I think he felt that he can make the decisions, take the decisions upon himself and make them, which for me is incorrect because he's not in the heat of the moment. It's also different interpretation. You know,
And
I
also, I
want
feel
the
like the
ref ripping the
referees
game.
need to be like,
I want.
I want to
Yeah,
go and look at the monitor. Okay, I get
yeah,
you. Let me go look. You know, I think they
yeah.
should.
I want, but yeah, but remember the ref can't. He's not allowed to do that. The ref has to be referred to the monitor by the video assistant referee. He cannot go there on his own accord. So
Yeah,
that's the issue.
that is a big issue.
And for me, for me, I've got a problem with that because that feeds into the inconsistencies of the game. Because you don't have the guy who's making calls on the field during the course of the game, so you've got him making half of the calls, you've got him making, and then you've got another guy making the other half of the calls.
I get what you
And
mean.
both of them can't. They don't have. Both of them have got different interpretations of things. They've got different leniency. So one ref might let something go, the other wouldn't. You know, but I want consistency within the game, even for the ref. So if Paul Tierney, let's say for example, is reffing the game, I can understand maybe Paul Tierney is a lenient ref. So he's letting these certain things go because and he will let things go for Liverpool, for the position, he will let things go for us. But now to have another guy come in and say, no, actually, Paul Tierney, that's a penalty. I'm not even giving you a chance to then look at it through your lens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm making the call for you. You know, and for me, that's not correct. Because as I'm saying that now you're bringing a different person who is not necessarily got the same viewpoints.
I get what
as
you
the
mean.
guy
He's not
who is
in the
being
heat of the
entrusted
moment to see
fundamentally.
everything that's
Exactly.
going down. You know what I mean? It's like even certain like fouls or stuff like that. You know?
So yeah. So even with that, even like with other sports, let's say rugby, right? There, the
Or like the
TMO
communication between
tells,
the
TMO tells
even cricket as well.
Yeah, the TMO tells usually the ref, this is what I've seen. The ref then tells them, this is what I've seen. And based on what I've seen, what you've seen, I think the ref is, at the end of the day, is the one
So
who makes the call.
that detachment.
The ref says, I think, the ref will go and say, I think this is the appropriate call. And then and he says, do you concur? And then the TMO will usually say, yes, I concur.
I make you picture rugby in my head here.
Yeah, and if the TMO maybe has got a fundamental disagreement with the ref, which hardly ever happens, I've seen it happen, then the TMO will be like, no, you've interpreted this wrong. For me, you should either upgrade it or downgrade it to this, you know. But generally, at the end of the day, it's still the referee's call. And then the ref will be like, no, I disagree with you and it's my call. This is what I've seen. And
I think that you 100% that detachment or that communication aspect where they're not actually, we don't know what they're saying as well. You know, the commentators interpreting
so I'm not even,
VAR is.
I don't even, I'm not even going to talk about them because there it seems like they're not even willing to entertain that one of them communicating amongst of us hearing the communication. Because now the guys will be like, VAR is checking this thing. You don't even know if this guy is checking this thing because you can't hear. You could be just press the button. I'm checking. A couple of seconds. I'm done now. I've checked. You don't know he's checking.
Solitaire. Back to solitaire.
Him checking it. You know what I'm saying? You don't. So
and that's why other sports like they have that whole like when it's like on cricket and rugby they have that whole like waiting part where they zoom in, slow it down. These guys are having conversations in the background. They make like a whole intermission of it because they know like this is actually now part of the game and it's making the game better. You know what I mean? As much as a bit of a delay, I think with the communication it will work. Not let us hear. Let them also have like a chat amongst themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And then. Yeah, but then even with that, at least it puts our minds at ease as the viewing public. That, okay, maybe Mr. F, I disagree with you in terms of, so let's say if Kevin Friend, I've even forgot who was riffing. I know Kevin Friend was VAR. I forgot who was riffing our game.
I forget his name as well.
That's how disinterested I was in the ref. I actually forgot who was riffing it. But
Let me see.
If he goes then and says, you know what, I've had a look at this and I feel it was too close to his body. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have enough time to react, and therefore it's hit him. Yeah, I mean, it's hit him and he couldn't get his arm out the way. Therefore, I feel that it's accidental. It's not a penalty. Then at least I can be like, you know what? I disagree with that view because I felt that it wasn't moving quickly enough. His arms was in an unnatural position. It is a pen, but I understand, Mr. Referee, where you're coming from. It's difficult, but then at least I can say, you know what? It's an interpretation thing. He's viewed it this way. But now I don't even know what the ref's saying. Maybe he's there saying, you know what, Pepe is a cheat anyway. He tries always getting winning. He keeps penalties. I'm not giving him this nonsense.
Like we have to pray,
I
man.
can't reason.
Like we have to pray.
I can't go through the same thought processes and logic that the referee goes through, like I do when I'm watching a rugby match or a cricket game. I can't go through that thought process, which makes me, even though I might disagree, kind of understand.
We don't have the understanding, the context of these decisions.
Because you go in now, the guys in studio don't know, the ex-referees also are like, hey, chief, I mean, this
and they're also scratching their heads there. They're like, yeah.
Okay. Even Peter Walton from
that bold
on BT Sport was like, this is a pen. Like, he was no. So you talk about Dermot Gallagher. Dermot Gallagher always goes against his refs when he feels they're wrong. Peter Walton is a bra who never.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And even he was like, bra, by the strict letter of the law, this is a penalty. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you will argue the point that it's the way the rules are written. So like the David Luiz one, he argued that this is the way the rules are written, unfortunately, and by the letter of the law, it's a penalty. And when he said that, I agree. I not agree. You know what I'm saying? So
you can understand it. You know what I mean?
I understand it. It's a stupid rule.
Yeah,
but I understand now why it's given. If the ref had said it, during the course of the game, it probably would have, also we would have been able to stomach it better because he would have said that because this is how the rules are written, it's a penalty. It's a penalty and it's a red card. Now you actually like, did the ref see it? Didn't you don't even know how he came to his decision.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And like
you don't know how he came to it.
The other question is like, let's say, okay, these are happening. This is happening frequently now. And let's say, for example, the last United, Liverpool, us, those were pens. Let's just say they were pens. But now those are they're costing us points here. You know what I mean? Maybe United would have got 3 there, Liverpool would have got 3, we would have got 3 points, Now we all settled for 1 or 0, Or should there be a repercussion? Should there be like some kind of appeal process? Or do we just have to sit with this? Because how long can we just sit and take these decisions, where they're costing us so hectically? Like, this is not our first one. Refs have not, this is not an uncommon thing for us at Arsenal. I think because it's happening to other teams now, everyone understands it. They're like, yeah, no, we get it. But at 49-0, we were getting slaughtered with no red cards and stuff. But today, do you think there should be some? What's your feeling about it? Like, because for me, look at it. No pen, nothing happens to the ref. We move on. Is that what we must do? Like, take it? Should there be a process, or is it just part of the game? We got to take it, or is it improvement in VAR? Yeah, just your opinion on it. Sorry, I'm a bit off the topic. But
so for me, first and foremost, I think the key decisions for me, the ref has to always go to the monitor. I don't care this whole thing slowing down the game. It's nonsense, right? Because at the end of the day, what we want to see is the big decisions getting right, being given, and going the right way. Yes, I don't care about throw-ins and corner kicks and all that stuff, but the big decisions such as red cards and penalties, I want to see them being right. And the things that it's not like it's going to take 10 minutes to arrive to the right decision. These things are generally 2-3 minutes maximum.
Yeah.
A lot of these things. That's not taking away from the game. It's no different to a player when a player gets injured. We see players rolling around the whole time, balls getting kicked out, players taking 2 to 3 minutes to get tended to. So it's not like we're seeing it's going to fundamentally change a lot in terms of the speed of the game, in my view. I think it's just a stupid excuse that these guys are using for them to still control the game and still have power. You know how stubborn football is when it comes to making these decisions. It always takes something drastic for them to change their mindset it took them something drastic for them to even consider looking at the monitors last year. Because remember last year they had a policy that they just had the monitors there, but they were there for decoration. They weren't even looking at them.
I remember
It's only
that.
when
We were like,
more
why
and
is
more
it even
people started to
there?
complain. Exactly, that they actually now started using the monitors. But I still think they're not being used often enough, especially for a lot of these big decisions. For me, the VAR guy is there to just identify potential situations. The ref, so he's there to just basically identify. The ref
Yeah.
for me should go there, and he should be the one
Make
in
the
there
last
saying,
call, the last decision.
you know what, this is a penalty, this is a red card, etc. And for me, that should still lie with the refs. So I would still like to see the refs going to those monitors a lot more often. And then obviously, yes, I think first of all, that's the first step. Then after that step, then maybe let's mic up these refs so we can see how they're coming to those decisions when they actually sit and go through looking at the monitors and spoken through the replay, and him calling for different, because that's another thing. They literally will show the guy one angle, and that's it. If you actually look at it, when the referee comes to the monitor, half of the time they're literally showing him the one angle that the VAR guy wants him to see.
Yeah, the one that he thought was
that he likes. Like, yeah, look at that one. Yeah, definitely based on that. Whereas I want the ref to go and see all the angles that the guy has gone through, like, and him take him through it, and then they go through it together.
And it's logic. You got to have all the information presented to you to make a decision. You can't have one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
exactly. So that's the thing, and that's the one thing I don't like, is that literally they'll show him one angle, and I've seen some refs literally run up, literally have a 1 second look. Oh, I'm giving my decision. And then for me, and I'm like, nah, that's not how it should be. That's not how it should be. It should be done, unfortunately. And I think for me, especially in sport, because yes, okay, cricket, yes, is a totally different sport. It moves at a totally different pace. For me, though, like how rugby works is how these guys should be. Doing VAR. And obviously, in terms of how frequent they use it and what they use it for, I think they are using it for the right things in terms of the clear and obvious areas you're seeing that they're sending up are the right ones. It's usually penalties and red cards. That's usually what decides football games, in this day and age. The rest of the stuff, as I said, throw-ins, corners, all of these things.
Big one.
For me, whether it was a foul or not, even that they usually sometimes refer it as, or like a foul or not leading up to a goal, but you hardly ever see those being sent up. But yeah, for me, what they're using it for is correct. It's just how they're applying it. And they just need to get the transparency right. And as you're saying, there's not like you're getting 20 VAR decisions in a match. It's usually 3-4 max in a football game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what.
Let alone going to the monitor.
For me,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And for me, even with going to the monitors, that's maybe adding an extra 10 minutes to your football game best, but I'd rather see that and getting the decision.
Yeah, I think we also used to, because we see the benefits of it as football fans, because touch and go offsides can actually be told now today, like before, how many games we lost games through bad offside calls.
Yeah, even but some of those touch and go offsides as well. I agree with Ben. Some of them.
As I was saying it, I realized
the guy that's drawing those lines. Also, for me, stuff like that they should apply in cricket, where they look at a certain margin of error and use benefits of the doubt.
Yeah, the umpire's call thing. Yeah, that's
like an umpire's call. They should introduce something like that for certain things, or make it easier for the
fine lines. Like sometimes they're measuring like the O's pinky there, but you're not scoring.
Yeah, because you can't. So where does the guy's shoulder start? Because for me, some of them have come down to that, where 2 meters or 2 inches, but 2 centimeters, let's say, between where you draw the line for the guy. And remember, these things are also not really drawn from up close. When you look at it, it's usually drawn from quite a distance. So for me, we're looking at it with a naked
also
eye.
Guesstimation.
Look at the margin of error.
Yeah.
If there's that much of a difference between your offside, to me, that's a big difference between where I'm drawing. Am I starting my line here? Am I starting it here?
Yeah.
That's a difference.
And also, I think you said it before. Like if you're a size 6 and I'm a size 7 or a size 9, and we're like in the same position, my feet will just be a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll be offside because I have a bigger foot, maybe. And that line gets drawn there. Just
Yeah, but the thing is that like with those ones, for me, it's easier to measure the ones on the feet ones, and that's why maybe I would say that maybe they should look at actually measuring feet, and even with the feet, look at a margin of error, because at least with feet, it's on the ground, you can kind of draw a
yeah, I
straight
get what you
line
mean. You can get the kind of interpretation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. With that, so for me, that to me has looked a bit more accurate than the ones where now they're trying to determine where's his shirt
Like his
line,
hip or yeah.
where's his shirt line, is his forehead ahead of his shirt? Where do they draw the line from? From is it his head? Is it his shoulder? Is it his knee? You don't know, kind of thing. Where to draw
It,
the
it
where's
reminds me of like they're
the
trying to do what like athletics does, and at the end of the race, when they try to like see who wins, and they try to like
yeah.
get that kind of visualization. But
So for me, they're applying something absolute to the technology that's got a high margin of error.
yeah,
You understand what I'm saying? So it's not like goal line technology where it's 99.9% accurate. This is for me isn't that where you can definitely say, oh, the projection that this guy has used is 99% correct. Because
yeah,
I still have a problem with a human being drawing lines based on what he's seeing. And that line for me, and you're basing that and saying, oh, actually, this guy is offside by 2 inches, whereas I could have made a mistake by drawing the line by having an error of 2 inches on
wrong,
where
just
I
in the
drew.
wrong, And plus, that's the
Starting
scaled
off at the
version
wrong
of
area.
it. So 1 millimeter off there could be like a meter off in the field. You know what I mean? Like in sense like that.
Well, it's not really, it's not, the difference is
It's
not
not
that
scaled.
big. But what I'm saying is that though they're making offside calls based on millimeters, when they in their drawing, the determining factor could have made that millimeter error
No, I get you.
from the start.
It is
So
quite guesstimations. Yeah, you know what I mean. A lot of these things are like they
So
try
for
to.
me, like stuff like that, you have to throw in a margin of error and then use an umpire's call. So say that because the referee put his flag up and it's within the margin of error, it's offside. Or he kept his flag down, it's within the margin of error, it's not offside. Just like in cricket, you'll have, is it hitting or is it half? If it's umpire's call and the referee gave you out, it's out. If you didn't give you out, it's not out. And you move on. And then at least you're still retaining the power with the refs then in that instance to say that the ref at the end of the day, we giving the benefits of the doubt to the referee and it was his call at the or you come with one where you say, okay, if it's uncertain, benefits of the doubt goes to the striker. Whatever I know Veng I think is going with that one. I actually haven't read his interpretation. I'm just guessing based on the few clips I've seen. But yeah, for me, there needs to be some form of until they find something that's 100% accurate or not close to 100% accurate, like what goal line technology is. But I don't think for the offsides we're going to be anywhere near that in terms of the technology that we use it.
So yeah, we did speak about all the biggest call in the game. Did it change the game? Did it change stuff? But like I remember I said what I was telling you earlier, I was saying we were robbed, but in the sense that what didn't allow us to get 3 points? Was it Xhaka's mistake? Was it just not being clinical enough?
For me,
Was it like
for me, I think if anything, it was us not being clinical. If I'm actually really pushed to give an honest answer, I'd say, okay, Xhaka makes a mistake. You expect Arsenal to make a mistake leading up to a goal. That's what we do. VAR, you expect these guys are rubbish. These referees, so you expect them to get calls wrong. Like I don't walk in with 100% confidence, just as much as I walk into a game expecting Arsenal to concede a stupid goal. I walk into games expecting refs to get big calls wrong. So that one you've put up. And then for me, it's about controlling what can we control. And for me, what we could have controlled was our finishing and our being clinical in front of goal, and we didn't do that. And we had ample chances, even with all the errors we've made from both self-inflicted and from the referees. We still had enough chances, in my opinion, to put that game to bed. And the players, for me, should shoulder the responsibility for that. And ultimately, I think the players are to blame for this, and specifically our attackers were to blame for the lack of of quality in front of goal.
Yeah, no, I agree. We did have a few chances, as you mentioned, post. I think Saka had a few, one or two, Pepe as well. We should have done better, most definitely. But now, look, the Premier League, hey, this season's a tough one, yeah, bro. It's pretty much
Premier League is done. We are just playing for now. We are just playing literally for pride next week.
Yeah.
That we don't get that
Moving on
Spurs
to
don't do the
next
double
week.
over us.
Yeah,
Spurs
so
don't do the double over us. But in terms of the league, I think after the Spurs match, for me, league is literally prep games for Europa. So for me, the most important fixture right now, obviously the next three fixtures are crucial, just given because Spurs are obviously our arch rival. We can't let them do the double over us. But more importantly, which is probably the first time we ever hear Arsenal fans say this, but more importantly for us, it's those two Europa League matches are the be all and end all of our season. You know, most of us, if you tell us that, which is usually not the case, but if you tell us that Spurs will do the double over us, but we'll win the Europa League, you know, we will take that. You know, we would rather, and even if Spurs finish in top four, we'd be like, yeah, they'll do the double over us and finish top four. If we won Europa and finished in the Champions League positions as well, you know, we would take this. Whereas some hardcore fans would probably, in the past, if we were in a different position, would have been like, you know what, we don't really care about Europa. If we lose against Olympiacos but beat Spurs, you know, a lot of Arsenal fans in the past would have been like, that's a good season. You know, we
Yeah.
at least, you know, at least we were able to beat Spurs and kind of finish ahead of them or stay within their range. But because obviously that's out the window now, for me the Olympiacos games are of paramount importance, given obviously that they knocked us out last time around. It's a team that we've generally struggled against in European competitions. Funnily enough, it's one of those teams where they've beaten us as many times as we've beaten them. So it's one of those weird ones where you just can't explain. They just seem to have something over us. So yeah, it's going to be a test of character for the boys. They should be revved up for this to kind of right the wrongs of last season. So yeah, I think Arteta shouldn't have any issues motivating the boys from that. And if the players are struggling to get motivated for this one, then I think I'll have problems with the players than the coach himself for this one. I think the coach, for him, it's just about setting up the right system to make sure that we are able to get the desired results. Our players should be fully fired up for this one, and we should be chomping at the bit to go and absolutely put things right, and knock Olympiacos out. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very tough fixture. But yeah, I'm going. Look, I would have probably said that I'm going in with a lot of confidence, but I think this Burnley fixture kind of almost reinstilled that fear within me, just that nervousness, just because I know we are capable of imploding. We are capable of giving away a stupid goal, giving away a stupid penalty, and getting a red card. We know that's within our DNA. So there is that fear. But if everything goes to plan and we play the way we want, we know we can play. It's a fixture I expect us to win over the two legs.
Yeah, so you did speak about Olympiacos, and then obviously once that done, two legs of that, I think we got, is it Tottenham and Liverpool? Something silly like that.
So we've got Olympiacos, and then we've got Spurs, then we've got Olympiacos, then we've got West Ham.
West Ham, yeah. So Tottenham, you did speak about Olympiacos. What Tottenham? Do you think we can get a result? What are you thinking? How are you feeling about that?
To be quite honest, Tottenham are looking good at the moment. Mourinho seems to have stumbled across an attacking formation now. Instead of relying on just two players to deliver all the goods for him, he's brought in Bale, he's brought in Lucas Moura in there, and they're looking good. Their front four, it's not a front two anymore. It's a deadly front four that they've got that looks good, that's quick, that's clinical. And I'm fearing the worst in this match. To be quite honest, usually when we go into a North London derby, I always fancy us to beat to beat Tottenham. And I think for probably the first time in a long time, I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know what? Even if I walk away with a draw here, I'll be happy. If I stop them from doing the double over us, I'll take it, kind of thing. Given the history of Mourinho, I guess he hardly ever loses against us. Jose Mourinho, given the fact that these guys are clinical, we'll make a lot of mistakes. It's one of those where it's set up. Tottenham for me are going in as the favourites for this one, and for me, and rightly, and in my mind, rightfully so. Given obviously all these points I've given, and it's going to be quite a difficult match for us. And yeah, I think we're going to have to kind of knuckle down, make sure that we don't get caught on the break, make sure we don't get caught in behind, because we're quite sluggish and slow at the back, as you know. If we do bring in Gabriel, because I think he needs to play just for his physicality, his athleticism rather, not really his physicality, his athleticism. If he comes in, is he gonna not make rash decisions, go diving in for balls that he shouldn't be going for, and leave David Luiz exposed, who I think will probably play as the right-sided centre back. And yeah, things like that. Will Bellerin get caught out? Because I know Bellerin will also probably play. You know, how will he do against Son Heung-min or Gareth Bale when they do switch sides, switch flanks, etc., and stuff like that, where on paper, to me, it looks like Spurs are the favourites. But I'm just hoping that these guys can kind of knuckle down, stop making the silly errors that they've been making over in the past games against Spurs. Because that's another thing, we always seem to make errors recently when we play against Spurs. We give away stupid penalties, stupid goals. And yeah, so I'm just hoping that it's a solid performance where we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, and hopefully then we can do the right things on the attacking front and be clinical with our chances that we do get. Because I think it's going to be one of those games where we won't get a lot of chances.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Hey, Tottenham, I don't know what to say. It is going to be a difficult one. I'm actually surprised you're playing them in this stage, Europa with Tottenham and then all of that. But yeah, big 2 weeks ahead of us. And thanks, Nqobile. I really appreciate coming on, sharing your Burnley thoughts. And then we just have to move. Europa, as you said, is our focal point. We need to get through that.
Yeah.
And just as a bonus, let's just beat Tottenham, man, and West Ham. Might as well kill both London teams same time.
Yeah. I would really love that. It would be
it would be
a really good end to the month. Yeah.
Yeah, especially since Burnley, as you said, was disappointing. But hopefully our bounce back. We need a win at Tottenham would really help us, I think, especially against Jose. So yeah. But on to the next one. We'll catch you. It's me, Kish. It's Nqobile. It's Gunacast Essay. We are.